Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Belmont Park here on Friday. It is the 30th of June, 2023. Going to look at all the races on Friday's program from Belmont, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world. I mean around the world. Some great racing this weekend. Here stateside you have the Dwyer tomorrow from Belmont, Stephen Foster. Over in the UK, you have a great race from Newcastle called the Northumberland Plate. It's a 2-mile race on the Tapeta, which is just always exciting handicapping opportunity. So check out my preview for that. But it's July 4th weekend into July, basically for the next 7 weeks or so. We have some great, or even longer than 7 weeks, for the next 10 weeks or so. We just have some great races every weekend going through and through, and 13 days until opening day from Saratoga. But we still have Belmont to go, and there's some great racing this weekend. Unusual for me to here on YouTube to look for to look at a full card. But I'm testing it out. I'm thinking, and I would like your feedback. So comment below if I should do it for the Saratoga meeting. I'm thinking about maybe for the Saratoga meeting, look at every single race here for YouTube. So instead of just looking at the feature race, maybe just look at full cards. So if I should do it, just comment below. This is kind of like a pilot to see what happens and see if I like doing it if I want to keep going forward for the Saratoga meeting. So let's look at all the races for this Friday program from Belmont. Starting off with the opener, it's Maine Special Weight purse $90,000 race for Maine's 2-year-old fillies here. A field of 12 horses entered. 12 horse is an MTO. The 11 horse is an AE. So 10 will go to the inner turf course, the distance of ground of 1,200 meters or 6 furlongs on the Belmont inner turf course. Rails are out 27 feet this weekend. Next week, they'll probably be down at 0 feet with the Belmont Derby and stuff. But this is the longest 2-year-old race of the season so far. My top selection, I'm going to take the 3-horse Smooth Waves. I'm going to go 3-9-2-4 in the superfecta. 3-9-2-4 super. Top selection 3-horse Smooth Waves. 2-year-old filly by English Channel. Mike Maker trains this one. Manny Franco gets the mount. Horse started once. That came in 11th of June here at Belmont. 5 furlongs in Maine Special Weight, 90,000. And the horse finished 5th by 6 1/4 lengths that day. And just didn't get out of the, didn't have the forwardly pace that day. Got out the gate well, but just kind of was wandering that day. Was a little bit wide and just never really showed up. Getting blinkers on today, has a good workout here last week, half mile and 49 flat. I think the horse can improve off that run and really run a good race here today. This horse is bred for turf through and through. English Channel by a Kitten's Joy, mare. So, I think this horse, should handle the green stuff. Coming here today, second off the bench. I expect this horse to really run a good race. I think your second likeliest winner is the firster, the 9-horse or second timer Haika for George Arnold and Jose Ortiz. Started on the second on the 19th of May at Churchill, 5 furlongs in a Maine Special Weight, and the horse finished 3rd by 7.5 lengths that day. And he moved a lot late that day. He wasn't going to win, but he showed potential in the final 2 furlongs there. Since then, has been training quite well at Keeneland on the dirt. 5 furlongs in 102 and 101 and 2/5 of the second. The best workout 5 and a half mile drill in 50 and 4/5 of a second. Coming here today with some decent turf pedigree, I'll give this horse a shot on the early pick 5. But to recount my selection for the opener from Belmont, gonna take the 3-horse Smooth Waves. Give kudos to the 9-horse Hike. Excuse me, I can't speak. 3-9-2-4 super, 3-9 in your multi race. The second from Belmont, it's a claiming event going for a $37,000 purse race for 3-year-olds and upwards. Never won 2 races here. Claim price $25,000. Field of 6 horses going 1,200 meters or 6 furlongs on the Belmont main track. My top selection, I'm going to go take the number 5 horse Marcar. I'm going to go 5-3-4-6 in the superfecta. 5-3-4-6 super. Top selection 5-horse Maycar. This 3-year-old colt by Distorted Humor. Michelle Giangelo trains this one. Kendra Carmouche gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 9th of June here at Belmont. A mile on the start allowance race 50,000, and the horse finished 6th by 16 1/4 lengths that day. First time going a route of ground, extended sprint, but this horse just wasn't handling it. Didn't have a lot left in the tank for the final 2. Hit the wall that day. It wasn't the day to win. Dropping down to a claiming 25,000. Back to 6 furlongs, which this horse should really run decently with. The 6 furlong buyers could definitely win against these horses. I expect this horse to really run a good race with the class relief. Finally won and out number 6 here on the 23rd of April at Aqueduct. 6 furlong slop in a main 40,000 off the turf. The horse went by 3 and basically in front and all throughout was a little bit wide, but this horse put on a show. An all-around good race for this horse there with a class relief. And then prior to that, a state bred main special weight at Aqueduct. 6 furlongs in the mud the 4th of March. The horse finished 5th by 9.5 lengths that day. He hit the gate going out of it, which probably cost him that day. He had to be quarter horse to the front end, and that probably just cost him not getting out of the gate so clearly. And then the final started last season on the 17th of November, 3 quarters and maiden 40,000. Finished second by 3 quarters in length that day, a little bit wide, but he was gaining that day. Not the world's worst race for him. Training well since the last run, cut back in trip, and 9-2 I'll use him. I think the 3 horse here playing with the matches for Mark Henning and Dylan Davis is your second likeliest winner. I'm going to use this horse in the pick 4. Most recently ran on the turf going a mile in the state bred allowance race, where the horse finished 7th by 14 lengths and just never really showed up. He showed some early speed that day, but nothing spectacular. He never got to the to lead that day, but he just kind of stalked and never really showed up. Prior to that, Belmont at Aqueduct, 7 furlongs an optional 50. He finished 4th by 6 1/4 lengths that day, and he just stalked, was wide, and just never got into it. And then at Aqueduct, 6 furlongs an optional 50. He finished 4th by 6 1/4 lengths that day. Again, never really showing up that day. He hasn't won since the debut, since the 17th of November at Aqueduct. 6 furlongs in a state bred maiden 40,000 claimer, where he won by 3/4 length and showed some speed. I think if he shows some speed here today, he could definitely win. He's training well, cut back in trip, way down the class ladder to 25,000 claimers. I'll give him a shot on the ticket. But to recap my selection for the second from Belmont, let's take the 5 horse Maycar as a top selection. Give kudos to the 3 horse playing with matches. 5-3-4-6 Super, 5-3 in the pick 4. To the third event from Belmont, to the Widener now. It's an allowance optional claimer purse, $105,000. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. Never won 18,000 3 times in the main claim starter. State bred allowance racer, which never won 4 races here in 2023, blah, 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 blah. We have a field of 9 horses, including a part of an entry entered, but keep in mind 7 and 8 are MTOs. So 7, including the part of an entry, will go to the Widener turf course. The distance of ground of 1,400 meters or 7 furlongs on the Belmont Widener turf course. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs here. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 5 horse here, Slipstream. Let's go 5-4-1-3 in the superfecta. 5-4-1-3 super. Top selection, the 5 horse, Slipstream. This 4-year-old Ridgeling by More Than Ready. Christophe Clement trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 30 days ago, 1st of June at Belmont. 6 furlongs optional 80 claimer, and the horse finished 4th by 3 1/4 lengths that day. Had a very troubled trip in the lane. He tried moving. He got he got steadied in the lane. It probably cost him. I don't think he was going to win, but it cost him a position that day. Refreshing here, going 7 on the Widener. Hopefully shouldn't find some, trouble. I think the horse could really run a good race and get the job done. I think this horse go a little wider today. I think that she's doing well. Two back the 13th of April at Aqueduct, 6 furlongs optional 80 claimer. He finished 9th by 6 lengths that day. He was very wide, and he just never really showed up. He needed the race there. First start back from South Florida. South Florida, he ran on the 10th of March prior to that, 7.5 furlongs optional 75 claimer. He finished 4th by 2 1/4 lengths that day. A little bit of tough trouble trip that day. He got bumped a few times, a little bit wide. He was gaining that day, but he needed the race for the experience there, first off the bench. And then the Commonwealth Cup at Royal Ascot last season, 6 furlongs there. He finished 17th by 11 1/4 lengths that day. Never really showed up, but he got beat by way better horses. He ran terrifically though in the Palisades at Keeneland over the 5.5 last October, where he won by 3/4 length, beating home Twilight Gleaming, who was the next start winner that day. This horse, he sat back early and circled the field, coming home with a 91 Buyer. That wasn't bad at all. He is, he has hidden form as a 2-year-old. He won the Futurity here at Belmont in October 2021 quite nicely by length, closing up from nowhere. Broke the main over the 7 furlongs here in September 2021. Easily by 5 1/4 lengths. And then that Brews Cup race at Del Mar over the mile, he ran 6 by 2 1/4 lengths, and I just don't think he had the best of trips on that narrow turf course. Also, I just think his better trip is a 7. He's back to it today. He should find a better trip at 7-2. He's due for a good run. His Buyer's getting better as of recently. I'll give him a shot here on the ticket. I think his second likeliest winner here is the 4-horse, Heaven Street for Flavian Pratt and Brendan Walsh. Most recently ran on that 1st of June race here at Belmont over the 6 on the Widener, where he finished second by 2 1/4 lengths that day. He just kind of stalked that day. He moved a little bit late, but Midday Image really put on a show to win that day. But this horse was second, definitely second best. Prior to that, in the Elusive Quality over the 7 on the 6th of May here at Belmont, he finished third by 1 3/4 lengths that day. And again, he was with them early on. He got caught late, but he didn't go down without a fight. He showed potential there. And then a race you could put an next through. That came at Gulfstream, 7.5 on April the 2nd, up to 62. He finished 6 by 2 1/4 lengths that day. From wide pit trip, he was wide throughout, and he just never really got going late. Coming here to New York, third start of the season back here in New York, I'll give him a shot with some class relief, and also I think the extra furlong should suit him well. I think another horse, he's sitting on that good run. But to recount my selection for the third from Belmont, gonna take the 5-horse Slipstream. Give kudos to the 4-horse Heaven Street. Where are we? 5-4-1-3 Super, 5-4 in your multi-race. The fourth race from Belmont now, it's claiming events going for a $39,000 purse race for fillies mares, 3-year-olds and upwards, number 1 3 races here, claiming price of $25,000. We have a field of 7 horses going 1,600 meters or a mile on the Belmont main track. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 4 horse, April Antics. So let's go 4-1-5-2 in the superfecta. 4-1-5-2 super. Top selection of 4 horse, April Antics. This 5-year-old mare by MC here. Mercanten Caminacci trains. Jose Lascano gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 4th of June at Belmont, 1 mile claiming 25,000, and the horse finished second by 4 lengths that day, and he had a very wide trip that day. He was gaining late, but the winner ran terrifically. Coming here, not the world's toughest race. I thought the last race was a little tougher. Coming back here today, I think he could get a good trip and win. 2 back, he ran on claiming 14 at Aqueduct on the stop, 1 mile, 23rd of April, and the horse finished third by 6.5 lengths that day. He was a little bit wide that day. You wanted to be wide that day, but not as, not 10 wide like he was at the top of the lane. I'm exaggerating 10 wide, but he was about 5-6 wide at the top of the lane. But he was gaining somewhat late in the race, but he's had better races that day since then and before then. And then the 7th of April at Aqueduct, 1 mile claiming 16. He won by 1 3/4 lengths that day, or excuse me, 3 3/4 lengths that day. Sitting back early, a little bit wide, but when he got the lead, he grinded it out to the winner's circle. Very good performance there. And then prior to that, claiming 16 at Aqueduct, 1 mile mid-March. Finished second by 5 lengths. The winner, Freudian, really ran terrifically. This horse was just second best after not the best beginnings. Come back to Belmont, where he's run decently in the past. He's way down the class ladder, back to a claiming 25. I'll give him a shot on the ticket. I think his second likeliest winner horse for the pick 5 would be the 1 horse, Super Duper Fly from Manny Franco. Ran on the turf a few weeks ago at Monmouth over the mile 16th in an allowance race, where he just didn't run. He finished 8th by 20 1/4 lengths. He just never really got going from a wide trip. He won terrifically, though, in mid-May at Monmouth, going a mile 17, claiming 30,000. He won by 1 3/4 lengths from a tracking trip. He basically floated home. A very good run with a 75 buyer. And then a Parks mile 17, claiming 25. He finished 5th by 8 lengths that day. And he just kind of hit the wall that day. He wasn't really keeping up on that weird park surface. He's making his Belmont debut. He's going to be facing a little bit tougher horses than he's been facing at Parks. But, he's run races that could definitely win against these horses. At 5-2, I'll use him here. And also watch out for the pick 5 for the 5-horse O'Donna. Most recently in claiming 16, the horse won for fun a few days ago by 2 1/4 lengths. He broke through the great gate that day. But basically after that, he was very rambunctious. But he used that rambunctiousness to his advantage, because he basically broke on top and won away with it. A very good run from there. Prior to that last fall at Meadowlands, 5 furlongs in the turf in the main special weight, he won by a neck that day, and he didn't have the best beginnings that day, but he got to the front end and he held it on to the victor. A very good performance there. And then at Aqueduct last September, 7 furlongs in the main special weight, he finished third by 5 1/4 lengths that day. He just had not the best of trips early on, but he was gaining late. Back to turf, quick turnaround, training well. I'll give this horse a shot on ticket also. But to recount my selection for the 4th from Belmont, going to take the 4-horse April Antics, give kudos to the 1-horse Super Duper Fly, and the 5-horse O'Donna. 4-1-5-2 Super, 4-1-5 in the early pick 4. Let's get to the 5th race now from Belmont, which is a maiden special weight purse, $90,000 races for maidens, 3-year-olds and upwards. Field of 8 horses. Going to the inner turf course, the distance of ground of 2,000 meters, with a distance of ground of 1.25 miles on the Belmont inner turf course. 2,000 meters, 1.25 miles inner turf course, rails at 27 feet. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 7 horse here, Fly Right. I'm going to go 7-4-6-1 in the superfecta. 7-4-6-1 super. Top selection, 7 horse, Fly Right. This 3-year-old colt here by Astern. Leo Giamatti trains this one. Javier Castellano gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 3rd of June at Belmont, a mile 16th in the Widener in a main special weight 90,000. And the horse finished second by 4 3/4 lengths that day. Was just a little bit wide throughout. He was gaining that day, but I thought he wanted something more. He's going to go to a mile and a quarter, which I think he should get a good trip with, sitting a little closer. I expect him to really run a good race and get the job done. These mile and a quarter races tend to be more towards horses that just walk on the front end, so I think he can do that here today. 6th of November was his previous race at Aqueduct, about a mile 16th inner turf course in main special weight. He finished 3rd by 5 1/4 lengths that day, and he just kind of stalked that day. He needed something more that day. More of a trip will probably suit him, but I've seen worse races from him. And then prior to that, on the yielding inner turf course, mile 16th in the Grade 2 Pilgrim, finished 10th by 20 1/4 lengths that day. He stalked early, he set the pace, and then just completely crumbled. He wasn't handling the yielding ground. His debut at Saratoga, mile 16th on the inner in a main special weight, he finished second by a neck behind General Jim that day. He didn't break so well that day, but he really, was gaining that day behind a decent horse. Training well. Think he wants to go a mile and a quarter. I'll use him on the ticket. I think his second likeliest winner is the 4 horse here, headline news for Jimmy Toner and Jose Ortiz. Most recently on the 20th of May at Pimlico, mile 16th in the main special weight, he finished 4th by 1 3/4 lengths that day. He had a wide trip and sat back early, but was gaining late. Another horse, I think he wants to go a mile and a quarter. Got a good stamina builder with the mile 16th. Training well since the last race, getting a little better. I'm going to give him a shot here to end off this pick 4. I think he can make some money with this one. So to recount my selection for the 5th from Belmont, I'm going to take the 7 horse Fly Right. Give kudos to the 4 horse Headline News. Who are we? 7-4-6-1 super. 7-4 in your multi-race. Let's get to the late pick 4, beginning with race number 6 from Belmont. The 6th race from Belmont, it's a claiming event going for a $45,000 purse, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. Never won 3 races here, going for a claim price $35,000. We have a field of 9 horses entered. 9 horse is an MTO. So 8 will go to the inner turf course or Widener turf course, 1,400 meters or 7 furlongs on that Widener turf course. Rails are down on the Widener this week, by the way. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 6 horse here, Our Country. Let's go 6-2-3-8 in the superfecta. 6-2-3-8 super. Top selection 6 horse, Our Country. 6-year-old gelding by Constitution. Mark Henning trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing, first off the bench, came in the 11th of May at Belmont, mile 16th inner turf course in the Star Allowance race, 50,000. You need to be drawn low in the inner turf course. You need to have some speed. He had everything but that day. He finished 7 by 5 1/4 lengths. He was drawn wide. He never showed speed, and he just never showed up. He also probably needed the race first start back in New York. Coming to the Widener turf course, which could play towards closers, getting a good pace in front of him that should suit him well. I think he's in a better spot to win. Also, a little bit class relief should suit him well. 2 back and optional 32 at Gulfstream, mile 16th, 9th of March. He finished 7 by 3 1/4 lengths that day, and he just kind of sat back early, a little bit wide, or a lot of it wide that day. He was gaining that day. I've seen better races, and worse race from him that since then, in his lifetime. And then the 9th of February at Gulfstream, 1 mile and optional 32 claimer. He finished 5th by 2 lengths that day. It was a little bit wide. He just couldn't catch the winner that day. I think he's just better back to a 7 furlong trip. He nearly won going around 2 turns 7.5 at an optional 32 at Gulfstream mid-January, where he finished second by a neck that day. If he didn't have a very troubled trip early on, he probably would have won that day. But he ran his heart out that day. But coming back to a 7 furlong trip to a 1 or coming first time to a 7 furlong trip, I think he's in a good spot to win. 3-1, let's use him. A horse I'm going to use in the late pick 4 is the 2 horse Ario for Mercantile, Caramachi, and Javier Castellano. Most recent claiming 35 at Belmont over the mile 16th on the 22nd of June, which was last Thursday. So it's coming back on the 8th day, quick turnaround. The horse finished 3rd by 3/4 in length that day. And he was on this pace that day. He got caught late. He ran his heart out that day. He gets a better poster and he cuts back and trip, which should suit him well. Prior to that, at Monmouth, mile 16th and claiming 20, he finished 4th by 1 1/4 lengths that day. And again, he got caught late, but he ran his heart out, and then they ran him on the dirt, which, he's just not a dirt horse. Also against some tough horses last fall. Back to turf, his form's been really decently as of recently. Training well, I'll give him a shot on the ticket. But to recount my selection for the 6 from Belmont, I'm going to take the 6 horse Our Country. Give kudos to the 2 horse Ario. 6-2-3-8 Super, 6-2 in your multi race. The 7th event from Belmont, it's an allowance optional claim purse, $100,000. Race for 3-year-olds and upwards, which never won $18,000 twice in the main claiming starter, or which never won 3 races here. Optional claim price $62,000. Field 7 horses, including a part of an entry, going 1,600 meters or a mile on the Aqueduct, or Belmont main track. My top selection, I'm going to go with the 3 horse Celestial Moon. I'm going to go 3-2-6-4 in the superfecta. 3-2-6-4 super. Top selection of 3 horse Celestial Moon. This 4-year-old colt by Malibu Moon. Belmont trains. Junior Alvarado gets the mount. Horse's most recent outing came closing day at Aqueduct, 30th of April. A mile on the stop-off turf and opposite 6-2 claimer. And the horse finished 3rd by 4 1/4 lengths that day. And he just kind of stalked from wide trip. He just was a little bit flat that day. Maybe he didn't like the sloppy going. It was a very, very sloppy day, so maybe it just wasn't handling it. Come back here to Belmont, 2-month refreshing. He's facing a little bit tougher horses, but I think he's run a race fast enough to beat these ones today. 2 back and off 6-2 at Aqueduct, mile and 8th on the 6th of April. He finished 4th by length that day. Anejo, who won that day, I believe, trained by Doug O'Neill, really put on a show. This horse set the pace. He got caught late, but he didn't completely hit the wall. He just got beat by a horse who was just closing up a little bit faster than him. But he ran his heart out that day. And then 11th of March at Aqueduct on the slop, an allowance race $82,000, winning by neck, closing up from nowhere. I thought it was a very good performance there. He went over the 1-turn mile in mid-December at Aqueduct, also in the main specialway, winning by 2 1/4 lengths. That was an even more impressive victory because he was stupidly wide that day. Since coming to the dirt, he's really become a lot better horse. He's training well, a little bit of refreshing. I'll give him a shot on the ticket. The 2 horse Constitution Lawyer for Ray Handel and Dylan Davis, is your second likeliest winner. I think I'm going to use him in the pick 4. And both of these, Ray Handel and Dylan Davis first, had a horrible beginning here to Belmont where he just wasn't winning, but he's getting all these places. As of recently, he's been really, putting on shows with some of his horses, and he's a rider to watch out going to Saratoga. And Ray Handel, another trainer, watch out going to Saratoga because his horses have been running quite well as of recently. But Constitution Lawyer ran here on the 21st of May, about a mile 16th off turf and allowance race $92,000, where he won by a head, and from a tracking trip he was stupidly wide, but he got the job done. A good gritty performance for him there. Prior to that on the turf in a 1 mile allowance race at Aqueduct, he finished 5th by 5 1/4 lengths that day. He probably needed the race first off the bench, and he just got beat by better horses. Easter was a decent horse who won that day. Ran up, I believe, here a few weeks ago where he ran decently. He didn't win, but he ran his heart out there. Or did he win? I can't remember now. But, he wasn't catching Easter that day on Good Friday. And then an allowance race for at Aqueduct, mile 3/8 on the inner turf course. Finished 3rd by length that day. And he wanted to go. He moved a little bit late, but he was just, a little bit too ranked for that race. His dirt races, early on in his career, could definitely win against these horses. Cut back and trip, 5-2. I'll use him on the ticket. I think he has some hidden class to win here. But to recount my selection for the 7 from Belmont, I'm going to take the 3 horse Celestial Moon. Give kudos to the 2 horse Constitution Lawyer. 3-2-6-4 super, 3-2 in your multi-race. To the featured 8th race now, or co-featured 8th race from Belmont. I guess the 7th race was featured. But the co-featured 8th race, it's an allowance race purse, $95,000. Race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards, never won $18,000 on the main claim starter, blah, 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 blah. Field of 10 horses entered, 10 horses in MTO, so 9 will go to the inner turf course at the distance of ground of 2,000 meters or a mile 1/4 on the Belmont inner turf. My top selection, I'm going to take the 2 horse Highland Grace, 2-9-1-6 in the superfecta, 2-9-1-6 super. Top selection of 2 horse Highland Grace. This 3-year-old filly by American Pharaoh. Barkley Tag trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 3rd June here at Belmont, a mile 3/8 inner turf course in main special weight, and the horse won by 1 1/4 lengths that day and had a dream tracking trip all throughout stalked. When this horse got to the front end, he quickened up and went away with it. A good performance. Coming back here, hopefully sitting a little closer like she did last time out because it's inner turf course plays towards speed. I think the horse could really run a good race. 2 back on the 7th of May at Belmont, about a mile and 8th in the main special weight, $90,000. She finished 2nd by 1 1/4 lengths. Prerequisite, ran a terrific race to win that day. One next start out in the stakes race on right after Belmont Stakes Day because I had money on her, made a lot of money with that exacta. But this horse ran decently behind her. She's just a little bit wide and was closing off on a turf course that does not play towards closers. Also, probably need the race there first off the bench, but she ran her heart out behind a next start winner who was in stakes quality horses, who's probably going to run next week in the Belmont Oaks, if you ask me, if I guess, is entered for that. But, nothing bad about that run. Prior to that, on the 5th of March at Goldstream, mile 16th in main special weight, finished third by 3/4 length. She just kind of stalked. The winner, Queen Picasso, was the next start winner, and Soviet Excess was the next start winner who finished second. So, again, beat by better horses that day. Were all good form after that. And then 22nd of January at Goldstream, mile 16th in the main special weight. She finished 5th by 4 1/4 lengths that day. Again, the 1, 2, 3 all next out winners. This horse just couldn't keep up that day, and probably need the race since first start in 2 months. But back to a mile and a quarter, which I think this horse should want. Hopefully being forwardly paced, it wouldn't surprise me. I think the 9 horse Lullaby Land for Jack Abrams and Jose Ortiz, your second likeliest winner. Most recently in the allowance race for 90,000 over the mile 3/8. She finished third by length that day. And she just didn't get out of the gate so well. It was a little bit wide. And, she just couldn't keep up. Getting a furlong left to a mile and a quarter, because it's a little closer. She definitely has races that could win against these horses. At 5-1, I'll use her on the ticket. But to recount my selection for the 8th race from Belmont, I'm going to take the 2 horse Highland Grace. Give kudos to the 9 horse Lullaby Land. 2-9-1-6 Super. 2-9 in your multi-race. Let's get to the nightcap, the 9th race from Belmont, which is a main claiming event going for a $55,000 purse. Race for maidens, fillies, mares, 3-year-olds, and upwards. Field 10 horses entered, but only 9 could go 1,700 meters or a mile 16th on the Widener turf course. Going to take the 4 horse Financial Device as a top selection. Let's go 4-5-2-6 in the superfecta. 4-5-2-6 super. Top selection 4 horse Financial Device. This 3-year-old filly by Wood and Bassett. Chad Brown trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 7th of May at Belmont, about a mile and 1/8 on the inner turf course in main special weight. And the horse finished 5th by 5 3/4 lengths that day, and he just kind of stalked that day. He needed something more. It just wasn't the day to win. Seeing a quicker pace, mile 16th here, I think, and way down the class ladder, I think the horse could get a better trip and win. The debut came the 11th of February at Tampa, mile 16th in main special weight, where the horse finished 3rd by length that day. He sat back early, and he was really gaining late. Just missed, but he ran his heart out that day. Again, just got beat by slightly better horses, but she ran her heart out. Keep in mind that 7th of May race here at Belmont, that was the same race prerequisite was coming out of it, was the next start stakes winner, and Highland Grace was the next start winner wife in the previous race, so she ran against decent horses. She's training well at the Brown South Jersey base at Monmouth. I'll give this horse a shot with some serious class release and some slight distance decrease. The 5 horse Keep Me Down for Mike Maker and Manny Franco is your second likeliest winner, I think. Most recently here at Belmont, the 2nd of June, 1 mile and a maiden 75,000. The horse finished 5th by 5 1/4 lengths that day, and just probably need the race. Just was a little bit flat late. It was the horse's first start since the 2-year-old debut that came at Belmont, Saratoga on the Mellon, 5.5 in the main special weight, where the horse finished 7th by 8 1/4 lengths that day, and just was very rambunctious that they never really wanted to get going and never really wanted to race. Really showed better maturity last time out, even though she didn't win. She came back with a bullet workout last time out. She shows some speed here. I'll give her a shot second off the bench at 6-1 with some class relief and this very nice Belmont nightcap. But to recap my selection for the 9th from Belmont, I'm going to take the 4 horse Financial Advice. Give kudos to the 5 horse Can't Keep Me Down. 4-5-2-6 super. Let's go 4-5 to end off the late pick 4. So good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5. And like I said, comment below if I should keep this going maybe for the Saratoga meeting. But good luck, everybody.